For a brief moment in August, things were looking up. The Federal Reserve Chairman Jerome Powell spoke, and things went down again. The Fed ready to keep hiking rates to fight inflation. So what does that mean for your money for the rest of the year? Let's get the read from our market gurus, Rebecca Walser and Keith Fitzgerald. Rebecca, the Fed's saying, take it seriously. We're going to keep hammering away at this thing. We're going to turn this economy down, and there's going to be pain.
Yeah, Charles, and I 100%, I think I'm the bear in this conversation. I agree. I think that he had no choice. This is what he had to do to maintain the strength of the dollar. And if we look at the true inflationary numbers using the equation from the 1980s that we used when we had double-digit inflation in the late 70s and 80s, is we have 15 to 18% inflation really and truly. And the Fed knows this. So they know they have to be serious and they have to really get rates up. And it's going to take a lot more pain. Unfortunately, the bond market already has the worst year since the 1790s. And it's going to get worse. And it is what it is. It's where we are, Charles.
Keith, to that point, this is like there's nowhere to hide. That so-called 60-40 portfolio has been a disaster. Inflation hedges haven't worked. I mean, people are saying, gosh, I did everything textbook right, and I'm still getting hammered here pretty good.
Well, that's the problem. And Rebecca's being very generous. I mean, the Fed has to raise rates, but I don't think the Fed knows what it's doing. It's as wrong on rates in labor as it was on transitory. So this is the time where you got to be simple. Is anybody giving up their iPhones? No. Is anybody stopping eating? No. Is anybody stopping going to the bargain basement stores or to the big bin stores? No. The key to what you're going to have to do for the rest of the year is survive. And those are the big liquid stocks that can avoid the supply chain problems, can help every dollar go further, and help you live your life.
I'm going to digress a little bit here because, Keith, when you say the Fed doesn't know what it's doing, you're talking about 18,000 PhDs, a $2 billion budget, and they have just two jobs. That's all they have to do. They have two jobs. What's going on here?
Well, neither of which, Charles, is equivalent to running a popsicle stand. They don't understand how real money works. The Fed thinks that it can raise rates because the banks have big reserves. What they do not understand between these 18,000 PhDs is how real money works, because all of the banks that have those reserves reloan that between 7, 8, 9 times, which means there's only $1 in system for every fake $9 that are out there. So every time they mess around with rates, you get this asymmetric response in the system. That's why so many people are hurting. And then on top of that, you got the Biden administration throwing more money on the fire, which might as well be jet fuel at the barbecue.
I will say, though, I think when the carnage starts to mount, I know Jay Powell's talking a strong game and he's stepped up to the plate so far. But I think when the carnage begins to mount, I don't know. I think he'll blink. But until that moment, Rebecca, how should people try to weather this storm?
Well, I mean, obviously, Keith is into liquid equities, but I'm a commodity girl right now. I'm 100% in precious metals, not 100% in precious metals. I'm for precious metals right now. No one should be 100% anything, right? But honestly, Charles, I think that we are experiencing global currency realignments that are unprecedented. We've never seen this before. We do know that the strength of the dollar right now, I think the Fed has to keep the illusion that the dollar is strong. And I'm not saying that it's not strong. It's strong relative to the rest of the world, but it has got massive problems, and those are going to be realized very, very soon. And so I'm definitely on the gold and silver side myself.
Keith, and we just did a segment earlier about student loans and a forgiveness plan. One of the problems for the Fed is that they can't stop the White House, right? Because you've got the federal government and the Federal Reserve. The Federal Reserve is trying to slow the economy down and fight inflation. The White House keeps pumping out billions, if not trillions of dollars. It's a heck of a fight when the other side won't let you do your job.
Well, this is why none of us are in Washington, is because we actually understand how real money works. So, the key here, Charles, is this is tough. These are unprecedented times, to Rebecca's point. I mean, there's just no doubt about that. So the key is don't try to be a hero. If you play golf, keep it on the fairway. If you're a sailor, be out in the fair weather. Don't try to buy the scoop it up low stocks. Buy the stocks that you know are absolutely going to be there in 5 to 10 years. The stuff that you're going to kick yourself if you don't own. Some of my favorites include the big tech, which I'm content to average in over time.
Right.
I'm content to buy Costco, for example, because I know people have to make every last dollar go farther. I know that I'm going to go into the food stocks worth because people are not going to suddenly stop eating. So I can't do anything about the Fed, but you know what? I can pick great companies. I can pick quality companies, and they're still putting numbers up on the board, inflation or not, supply or not, Biden
Yeah, I mean,
not.
you know what? The Krogers and the Kellogg's and the General Mills, they seem boring, but those stocks hang in there pretty good. All right, so Rebecca, on top of this, we also have higher taxes coming. You know, the buyback tax, and you know, I've lost track of them all. You're a tax expert as well. Combining all of these things up, what does it mean for the economy down the road? I mean, we could be looking at a serious recession, right?
I mean, not to be depressing on Labor Day here, but I will just tell you, we have the baby boomers in the last 6 years of massive retirement. You know, by 2028, most of them are retired. We have a little bit in 29 and 30. But between the baby boomers retiring and almost 9.5% COLA adjustment, which is what we're looking at right now for Social Security, which we can't afford at all, not even 1 year, we can't afford it without raising taxes, Charles. And that's the bottom line. Don't tell us you can do all this and yet not going to charge taxes on people under 400,000. It's just not true. Let's get honest.
Well, as Neil Cavuto would say, on an uplifting note, enjoy your holiday. Thank you both very much. Appreciate it.
Happy holiday.
All righty. All right, so spending money on dinner.